Welcome to CONFPOD episode 4. I'm Ed Julien, your host. This is CONFPOD, the podcast for Bitcoin conference organizers, where we try to provide you with tips, tricks, ways to scare you into not doing a Bitcoin conference if you're not ready. But this should be a place where you can learn about how to make your Bitcoin conference better, how to make your Bitcoin conference more efficient, and contribute back to the Bitcoin economy. With me today, I have two European legends, well, a Canadian-European legend and a Czech legend that are going to talk to us about their experiences running some very successful events in Europe. Today's introductions are brought to you by ChatGPT because, well, you need something that tells you exactly what you want to hear. ChatGPT. Martin Kuchar is one of the people behind BTC Prague, the other being his brother and a team of many. BTC Prague is one of Europe's biggest Bitcoin conferences. Martin is a longtime Bitcoin and fintech operator. He's survived multiple Bitcoin cycles, which makes him either extremely patient or extremely stubborn. Both very useful traits when you're running a conference. Welcome, Martin.
Yeah, thank you for the invitation, Ed. It's a pleasure.
And Luc de Wolf is part of the team behind BTC HEL, a Bitcoin conference based in Northern Europe and known for strong ideas and zero tolerance for nonsense. He spends his time thinking about real-world Bitcoin adoption and somehow resists the urge to launch a token, which we respect. Welcome, Luc.
Thanks, Ed. That was definitely an interesting introduction. And happy to be here.
A guy in the Bitcoin treasury space named Grain of Salt recently wrote kind of a short book on ChatGPT or in AI in general. And one of the things that he kind of reflects in this book is that ChatGPT or these AIs are like the magic mirror in Snow White, right? And if you say like, hey, who's the prettiest of them all, it's going to tell you, oh, you're the prettiest of them all, right? And so it just depends on how you ask it. And so, we're getting to that point where it's really the prompt engineering and what you ask it. This isn't a podcast about AI, but let's move on. Anyway, so I like to start this always with a real softball question, something to just tee it up for you so that we can start nice and easy. Tell me about the worst thing that's ever happened at your conference, the biggest disaster, and how you dealt with it. Who goes first, Luc?
Luc, it's your turn now. I need to think a bit.
Great. Yeah, biggest disaster. Okay, I mean, what happened with was that Giacomo Zucco, he came with his entire family to BTC HEL, so Mir and the kids and all this, but their kids ended up being sick the whole conference, basically. So Giacomo and Mir actually never made it to the conference venue except literally when they were scheduled to speak. But the funny thing was when Giacomo showed up for his keynote, right, he went to the wrong place. He went to our office, which was about a 10-15 minute walk away from our venue, and he's texting me. He's saying, "It's locked. Nobody's here. What is this?" And I said to him, "Giacomo, the conference venue is in a big space. You would know it's happening, right? There's 800 people there. It's not locked." So anyway, he runs, and I could see him running. He shared his location even, so I could come grab him and take him immediately to the stage. He ended up being only about 5 minutes late, I think, about 5 minutes late for his talk, and I forget if it was Daniel or Joe. Those were our MCs that day. Daniel Prince, Joe Nakamoto, and they but whoever it was covered for him nicely, and he ended up running straight to the stage, sweaty and everything, and then delivered his keynote immediately. And we shared a good laugh. It was just unfortunate for him and Mir, basically, that they ended up having to take care of family obligations, sick kids and etc., and not enjoy the conference quite as much. But it all worked out in the end. I would say that was the biggest disaster. But I think you just learn to roll with it, right? If something happens to a speaker or something happens to what do you say? If something happens, you just have to run with it. I wonder, maybe Martin, if you have like a similar story.
That is a pretty mild one, Luc, compared to some of the other stories we've had. So either you're lucky or lying, but we'll.
Well, I've heard we were well organized. That's the feedback.
Yeah. Okay. We'll give you the lucky one then, Martin.
I know, first of all, Helsinki conference was great, and I'm in general a big fan of Finland, and I enjoyed it there a lot. And I suggest everyone to go to Finland to visit that conference because like for some weird reason, Finland is so underrated. So just let's change it together. And okay, my story. Like in general, I would say that if conference runs smoothly, it doesn't mean that it's organized well. It means that organizers aren't paying attention enough because there's something wrong constantly somewhere on some extent. That's the only constant at the conference or at events. And organizers' responsibility is to keep it behind the curtain so the visitors don't realize. And one example actually, and that took part of my life actually last year. So the conference starts on Thursday morning, okay? So we have a Wednesday, 10 p.m. We are basically having a team gathering, trying to go through the checklist if everything goes well. And it seems yes, before a guy who runs a beer for us gives me a call and asks me, where are those 14,000 beer caps we're gonna be needing in the morning? And I said, like, you're asking me of those 14,000 beer caps you should be having morning? Yes, Martin, you are the guy who's running this show. I said, okay. So can I translate it like that? We have 0 beer caps and the conference starts it in 8 hours. And just guys, we are talking about Czech Republic, a beer country, you know, that would be a complete disaster if there won't be a beer already in the morning. And he said, yes, okay. So I'm gonna just drop off this call, breathe it out, and I call you again in 5 minutes, okay? Okay, so I drop the call, and immediately the schedule for the whole team changed like in the matter of the second. So, okay, it was like, you call there, you search on Google, you search there, you ask our driver, do we have a van? Can we get them in the morning? Should we get those 14,000 beer caps to the venue in the morning? Because again, it's Czech Republic and it's our conference. But like that was hell of a thing, which I thought that we won't end up with having. Like I would expect anything like Giacomo even running longer, or I would expect basically guys, you name it, because it's a conference. I saw a lot actually, and I'm ready for many stuff. But finding 14,000 beer caps at 10 p.m. in Prague, needing them at 6, or no, it wasn't 6, it was 7 a.m. in the venue. That was a pretty challenge. And we handled.
And you pulled it off. Yeah. Good. The reason I bring that question up is because I just want our listeners to realize that, yeah, stuff does go wrong for everyone, right? And you've got to be able to roll with the punches. You've got to be able to see how you're going to handle it. And I think that's a beautiful way of putting it, is that you want it all to happen behind the scenes. You know, one of my first guests was Brandon Green, and I said, hey, what's the worst thing that ever happened at Bitcoin conference? And I think I had to cut him off at 3 different things, right? Because he has a very long list of things that go wrong at the Bitcoin conference. There's always things, but we try to not hide them, but just to keep it so that the show goes on, correct? Anyway, so Martin, I was at the first BTC Prague, the second one. And that first one that you had, I'd have to say it was the most successful first-time conference ever held in the Bitcoin space. It seemed like you had 1 million people in that airport hangar that just reverberated. I've never felt the roof kind of come off more when Saylor got up there and gave his speech. The building was vibrating. It was amazing. How did you make such a first-time event so successful? I know I've been to Prague a lot of times. I love Prague. Amazing community there. Opposed to other countries, people in the Czech Republic wear Bitcoin like a badge of honor, whereas in other countries they have to hide it for security and stuff. But how did you make that first event so successful?
Yeah, thank you. I'm flattered. Thinking of it now after 3 years, and this is gonna be 4th BTC Prague this year actually. Seems little bit weird that we even handled, because like we organized different conference before BTC Prague, Czech only, Bitcoin only conference. We became like the biggest non-English speaking conference in the world already back in 2022. And that was basically the moment when the seed of BTC Prague was planted. We already knew that it either way gonna be us or somebody else taking care of European Bitcoiners. And we said like, okay, it's easy. If it's us or somebody else, I would rather it to be us. So we said with Matthias, okay, let's make it happen. We quit our daily job. we just signed fully onto BTC Prague. We asked a few friends if they can hand us a hand so we can make it happen. And it was funny because we thought like, okay, 2,500 visitors at our local conference, scaling up to 10,000. This was a little bit too ambitious, but we either way had like 7,000 visitors there already at first year of it. So it's like 7,000, 2,500. So it's like 4 times more. It will be like 5 times harder to organize it. It was like 50 times harder. So we were in complete zombie mode for 2 months. But again, we knew that our organizer responsibility is to keep problems behind the curtain. And we are problem solvers, you know, we are the guys who like problems and situations to be solved. So there's something that needs to be solved, we solve it, and we don't just matter. We are not sentimental about it again. And we tend to look forward, not backwards. And we have a Czech community, which is great as our support. We are quite lucky that we are part of it and that we help to curate it, that it's not shitcoiny and that it's Bitcoin only, mostly. And actually all those shitcoiners are Bitcoiners too, but they just need a little bit more time, I would say. And Czech Republic is great in general, you know, like it sits in the middle of the Europe. We are little part of West, little part of East, being in the middle, having our own currency. So we are not that heavily attached to the euro. Obviously inflation is killing us crazy as well, but like that's the thing. We have our beer and, we like things to be done well. So we said with Matthias, okay, if it's our responsibility to make Bitcoin success in Europe, we can't fuck up, and we didn't fuck up. So, but it's obviously easy to say. I'm just making a little fun of it. It was a lot of work, and I'm proud that it clicked in the right time, in the right place.
Perfect. I'll make a minor correction to your English there, just for any listener that may be listening. He meant sexy, not sexist. So we'll just correct that minor,
obviously,
minor English faux pas there. But Luke, you know, BTC HEL was not something you guys all of a sudden said, "Hey, let's do something." There was a lot that you and Timo and Newt had been had thinking about. Tell us about, you know, what you guys were doing before, and then grew it into BTC HEL.
Sure. Well, first, I'd actually just like to give Martin a compliment. You and Matthias have made something fantastic. I mean, I've been to every edition of BTC Prague so far, and hope to go every year. You know, fingers crossed and all this. I missed my anniversary last year to go, so my commitment level is like really high. It's seriously just the best place in Europe to come bring the entire community together, and we need that one anchor conference. And to me, that's BTC Prague. It's just the place to be. I love regional conferences as well, just to get to see somewhere new and see what the adoption is like in individual areas. But yeah, Prague is like this hub, and always want to be there and contribute to what's going on there. And for me, it's a cannot miss event, and you guys really pull it off so well. So yeah, looking forward to this year's edition. Absolutely, Martin. Yeah.
Thank you, Luke. I'm flattered.
No worries. And yeah, so to your question, Ed, yeah, so I'm the resident international in our team. You can also say that Knut is international, but that's sort of via me. I've lived in Finland for almost 5 years, so I'm from Canada originally, actually from Alberta, where the Bitcoin rodeo, and there's a great community going on there, is based. But I've lived in Finland for almost the last 5 years, and really gotten to know the local community. The first conversation, this little kernel of what eventually became BTC HEL, was that me and Remu, our CEO, leader, really our driving force. I would say he's the Energizer bunny that like pushes and makes sure everything gets done, which is awesome. You need that. He and I had a short exchange on Madeira for Bitcoin Atlantis at Bitcoin Atlantis. Knut and Remo and I were there, and we had this initial conversation. And hey, like, could we do something like this in Finland? Could we bring together the community and show what Bitcoin is all about? That was always the idea. Like, let's get Bitcoin on the map in our local area and really bring it to the forefront. And so some of our goals, first of all, were to even get into some of the mainstream media. We had I would say quite good coverage. About 10 articles from like proper mainstream news outlets cover our conference. And I even had people in my day-to-day life. I still have a fiat job. job. They came to me and said like, "Hey, I saw you in the Economic Times. What's going on here? This was your conference. Tell me more about Bitcoin." And I just found that was fantastic. But yeah, it's a team effort. Most of the team is from Finland originally, and I'm of course based here. And my role with the entire thing is basically I've been doing a podcast with Knut Svanholm for 3 years now, something like that. We've got almost 200 episodes, so that's going well. The Bitcoin Infinity Show, and through that, I've just gotten to meet and connect with so many different people, and of course going to conferences and all this. And Knut is like one level further, so he knows everyone. And so our role was to convince people to come to Finland and come speak and get a good schedule that could be compelling and where people could learn about Bitcoin. So, I'm really proud of what we were able to pull off in our first year, and looking to grow it a little bit going forward. We're not massive, but we had about 1,000 people in the door our first year, and we could grow to about 2,000 in the new venue that we're moving to. I think we'll probably cap it at about there, though. It's not like we're aiming to be like the mega conference for the continent or anything like that. But the Nordics hasn't really had a conference of this size before ever. We were the first, conference above about the 200 person size. There was one event that had about 200 people in Norway. But then there'd been a whole bunch of other little local things. So we've also tried to really reach out to the rest of the Nordics, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, and get a presence from all of those countries as well. And that seems to have worked. So that was the first year of BTC HEL.
Let's talk about that for a second, because it's something that comes up a lot when people start talking about the 86 different Bitcoin events globally, right? We have this spreadsheet that we all share through a Signal group. There's 3 or 4 other sites, and when you think about 86 events globally, I mean, there can't be another industry or ecosystem in the world that has this many events. I always try to frame it in terms of, in a pizza that's growing so fast, everybody's piece of pizza gets bigger, right? Of course, right now that pizza has shrunk down to like a miniature individual pizza that we're all freaking out about at the time of the recording of this podcast on February 2nd. I think we're all in some pretty bad moods, but we're assuming that it always comes back and helps us out. But talk about that for a second, Martin first, then Luke. Why do we sometimes see these events as competition when maybe they really aren't?
Good question, Ed. And yeah, we both are in that crazy Google spreadsheet, seeing all the conferences there. I spent quite some time, and I went through the calendar. I realized that I can easily spend the whole year just by traveling conferences, not doing anything else, which would be great, actually, but I'm not there yet. Maybe a few more cycles. I don't know.
I tried it. I got exhausted.
It's exhausting, isn't it? Yeah. But I don't consider those other conferences or events as a competition. And I don't want to sound like arrogant. I really mean it from the perspective of a guy who is a Bitcoiner too. Yes, I have a Bitcoin business. I feel privileged being actually possible to work fully in Bitcoin, having this as my life and a hobby mission. And we actually, with Matthias, for example, beside BTC Prague, we started our local 21 World Community branch here in Czech Republic. We organized the first Bitcoin meetup in Ostrava, city where we origin from, not considering as a competition, actually quite opposite. We want people to meet on the local and frequent basic, like at least once a month. I would everybody on the planet to have a chance to go to a place close to the place he lives, to meet other Bitcoiners, to share the ideas, to talk Bitcoin, to learn, to see what is happening, to be persuaded that it's real, How can you do it in online space? And mostly now in the AI era, where it's almost impossible to realize what's real and what's not. But meeting people face to face gives you even that energy and the chemistry and the emotions and everything, which won't be probably possible to transfer through internet, at least in few upcoming years, I suppose. But again, like meeting people face to face, learning, using Bitcoin, buying a dinner, buying a beer with a Lightning, and sharing that experience with real people is the way of orange pilling the world, actually. And having those major conferences, which are actually even quite a lot in that shared list, is a place where those small conference organizers can meet even with their attendees and not only share what they are building and learning on the local scale, but even on the international scale. Because the way Bitcoin is used in Austria, in Germany, in France, in US, in Canada, in Finland, in Czech Republic, and even in different cities in Czech Republic, always varies a little bit. And then there are Bitcoin businesses in look for different use cases and different answers. So having big conferences that happens a few times a year is a great place because those people can come, learn from each other on way higher level that they would ever be able to do on small meetup, but still take those new ideas, new missions, make them usable and use them locally while orange pilling the world. So I believe that having a list of 85 conferences happening worldwide is still not enough, actually. We need more because Bitcoin needs to get closer to the people. So they feel that that it's standard, that it's normal, that it's that it won't disappear, that it's already here. It's a technology samely impactful as internet or as AI or the invention of electricity.
That's the third time you've mentioned beer. I'm starting to wonder if this is just a beer conference you're putting on.
Come again, Ed, and do this on me, okay?
Luke, competition. How do you see it?
Yeah. I mean, it's a different angle, of course, when you're talking about that. It depends on the size of your conference and the economics, and I think the smaller, more regional conferences definitely have a different model and a different idea than kind of the larger conferences that are kind of bringing people together, right? And I mean, Prague is one archetype of conference, like the large conference that basically everyone flocks to and everything. But of course, Prague is also really, really stimulating the adoption in the local area, right? In Czech, there are so many people from Czech Republic attending the event, and so it's not like that's even. I wouldn't say it's an afterthought. Even it's just sort of covering all the bases. Really, it's just the one to come to for the whole industry, right? I've been to other more really regional conferences that are really just trying to get the word out there. BTC HEL, I think, would be in that category to a certain extent. I've been to ones in say Bulgaria. I'm going to this one in Ireland. Like it's just great to get to kind of these more regional ones, right? Then for example, Baltic Honey Badger is another archetype where this is like the place for people in the community to get together and share ideas and all this. I think BTC ++ is kind of in the same vein generally, like bringing the community together and exchange ideas, and it's not really for people who aren't in the Bitcoin community, right? So you have these different categories. So that's another metric where there is or is not competition. We had actually an interesting thing last year. We knew we had to put our conference sometime in the summer, mostly because that's when the weather is nice in Finland, and I don't think people were going to come to Helsinki in the winter. You shouldn't actually. I would say that you might as well go way up north if you're going to come to Finland in the winter. That's the better experience. But Helsinki is just gray and kind of wet and slushy in the winter. I don't recommend it. I say that while living
you
here.
You just got canceled by the Helsinki Board of Tourism, by the way.
Yeah. Well, but fly through the Helsinki airport and go on up north to Lapland and everything, and that's just fine. Come to Helsinki in the summer. So we knew we had to do it in the summer. But okay, so can we do it in June? Well, no, I think we're not going to do it in June because I think doing a European Bitcoin conference at the same month as BTC Prague is just a little bit silly. That's my. I know some others are doing it, but good luck to them. And then we had August penciled in as our month. July was out because that's when everyone in Finland goes on holiday. But the thing was, we knew Baltic Honey Badger was going to be doing their event at some point. They'd been doing it in September for a few years. Then they started doing it in August. And so we just wanted to make sure that we didn't, at least we didn't hit the exact same weekend as them. That would have been bad. And so we put our event in the middle of August, 14th of August, 14th, 15th. And then they went and put their event on the week before. The week before. No, but this ended up working great. We just got on the phone with them, and we all understood, like, hey, they went a little bit earlier. Well, now a whole ton of our speakers and attendees can come to both conferences, especially those who are in coming from North America. So we had about 30 speakers go to Baltic Honey Badger and then come to our conference in Helsinki. And I mean, it's like a 45-minute flight, so there was nothing to it. And folks enjoyed the week. We had a bunch of side events in between the two conferences. It was great. It doesn't look like that's going to be the case this year. But this is just to say you can always make the best of it. And I definitely don't think that it's necessarily a good idea to have conferences that are like in the same region to be too close together. But then the funny thing is, if they're like in neighboring weekends, even that's maybe even more ideal, because you can kind of hit them in parallel kind of thing. So yeah, it's just that we all have to eventually either make money or understand that we're losing money, right? So at the end of the day, we all have to make it work, right?
Yeah, and I forgot to mention that of those 85 conferences, I think Nifty is responsible for 20% of them. So she she populates most of the list. I've been trying to work on kind of a framework for defining Bitcoin conferences, to say, is it a regional event? Is it a technical event? Is it a freedom event, et cetera? And, I live here in Atlanta, and we have TabConf, and the guys organizing TabConf, Tidwell and Brandon, they've never had any aspirations for that, a conference to get, bigger than the 200, 300 people they get, because it's very technical. It's meant for developers. It's meant to be kind of this open source type of conference. But as you try to grow it, as you try to bring in more people, it can be challenging because, whereas the Bitcoin conference brings in everybody plus, framing your content, framing your themes and all of that for the whole audience, whether that's your devs or your maxis or your noobs or whatever, can be really challenging. How do each one of you, do that in a way that makes it open to all, but doesn't make certain people bored because there's not enough mining content, etc.
Yeah, that's a good point, Ed. And it's tricky, and it's only becoming trickier, because on one hand we have all those OGs and Bitcoiners who went through few cycles, or at least one. If you get it through one cycle, it makes you way stronger, and it means that you probably already know a thing. Which is way different from the newbie or the newcomer that it's being invited into Bitcoin or brought to the conference by his friend or family or colleague or business guy, whoever. So it's tricky, but we try to separate it. So first of all, like BTC Prague is like by far the biggest conference in Europe. And we have 4 stages. That helps, because we have Czech stage. That's like, 1/3 of our audience are Czechs. So we thought like, hey, we need a content specific for them because of our history and Russian invasion and communism era where people were forced to learn Russia. Most of the older generations know nothing when it comes to English. So we want to provide them content in their native language so they can understand. Then we have like an expo stage where we go mostly through the newbie topics. So if you are a newbie, you probably will already get lost just seeing 100 Bitcoin companies doing this or that. So there is a stage right next to the booths. So you can come, learn, listen, and try to somehow understand what are all those hardware wallets and software wallets for. And if you are already a little bit more experienced, there is a main stage, or for the OGs, there is a VIP stage as well. So that helps us to separate it. But then the question you mentioned is still valid, like, why there's no enough dev content. So for devs, we have an answer. We have our dedicated Dev Hack Day that happens one day before the main conference. It was more like an experiment, which we started already back in 2023. And it was such a successful though that those attendees were kidding that it's funny that you organize BTC Prague as a side event for our Dev Hack Day here, where there were 300 people. But it's very geeky. We go very, very deep, and we have like a huge surprise to announce what we're going to do with the Dev Hack Day this year. It's going to be public like in 2 weeks from now, I suppose. End of February, the latest. And then it's question. And we always try to find the answer for that question. We always try to set like a main theme for the conference with Matthias that will help us to at least somehow navigate. And for this year, it's beyond hodl, using Bitcoin. Because we realize that people, like Bitcoin is great for hodling. Obviously, it's an answer for that inflation and spiral of death of money printing, which is actually killing all the savings, which Bitcoin solves great for us, like Western part of the world habitants. But like there are even other parts of the Bitcoin. It's a technology of freedom. It's a technology of open source. It's a technology that allows you to transfer the value and the money without third-party permission. It's censorship resistant, and we want people to understand that there are those aspects of Bitcoin which are for me the most important ones. Actually, obviously, easy to say while I already hodl, but still. And while knowing what is the main theme and that it's important and practical and that can help people to understand what Bitcoin is, it helps us to curate the lineup in the right direction. And if it's more mining or if it's more like a store of value, it's a little bit of everything. And then we try to understand what is the market situation about. So for example, now Monday, 2nd February, tricky one, Bitcoin about 73,000 US, as a little bit scary. So probably this year won't be the one talking about Bitcoin to total masses like we were in 2021 during the crazy bull run. It probably, the narrative will be different. So there's no proper answer or no proper cookbook to follow, but we always tend to like analyze the market, understand the market, try to think of like what would be the fit for the audience in this market period. And that gives us at least some answers or some guidance how to do it during the conference. And obviously it never clicks for 100% because Bitcoin is growing in such a tempo that what makes sense today might not make necessarily sense tomorrow, but doing our best if I give you the answer.
Yeah, and that makes it hard too, because like you have a main stage with all these thousands of seats. Of course, then Saylor gets on stage and it's standing remotely, and then you get another topic and it looks empty, but it's just because it's hard to balance the schedule, right? It's hard to balance the agenda to say, how am I going to keep these seats full the whole time? Well, you really can't. So you got to just find a way.
Yeah, like maybe just if somebody doesn't understand the complexity, it's like the main stage, 2,000 seats, and it's 3 days long conference. It runs from 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. So it's like constant need of attention and of team being super precise on timing. Our visitors were always complaining that lunch breaks are short and the lines next to the food trucks were crazy long during the lunch breaks. So we said like, okay, let's skip lunch break. We're just gonna go through the all day, and our visitors can choose what's worth of skipping. And it's something else for everybody else, which makes it a little bit easier. But like putting this all together in the right direction, not to have any breaks, not to mess up with the schedule, to have like people who can jump in if Giacomo needs to run from a wrong venue to the conference. Like we have a team of 250 people taking care of BTC Prague during the days. So, just this is the extent that it's required to have on the conference on that scale. So it's the lineup and putting it together is one thing, but keeping it on track and keeping everything ready and in set with what we announced, this is like different animal actually.
Yeah. Luke, anything to add to that?
Yeah, well, I mean, we took a lot of a similar approach here, so one of the areas we focused on was mining, because there's quite a lot of mining in Finland, and it's a hot spot for mining, so to say. We have a lot of heat reuse going on here. But then the other thing with it is we had a bit of a workshop stage where, more kind of in-depth conversations could happen. It was actually a cinema, so that was pretty cool. And then, of course, the main stage for more wide mainstream sort of things could go. And I mean, I tried to build the schedule in a way that people would have something interesting to to come engage with at any times of the day. And then, of course, we have the expo area and all of these other things. And so you just have to strike a balance, right? And figure out who you're targeting. So we definitely knew that we wanted to appeal to kind of more mainstream folks and also people who are more like the investor type who want to see like Bitcoin as an actual having like legitimacy and treasury companies. We had quite a bit of a presence of that there as well. And so it was all just about finding a balance and making sure there was something there for everyone and organizing the content like that. It's hard to please absolutely everybody, but the schedule was well received, and I think we got good feedback from our audience there.
Yeah, I always love it. The people who get scheduled on a secondary stage, across from a sailor, across from someone else, and you're like, "Hey, you're on stage," and then they look at the schedule and go, "Thanks a lot." That's great. And like, well, what else can we do there? But I often tell people that call me and say, "Hey, I want to do a conference." It's important that it is a destination, right? I always kind of make fun of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and say like that's going to be a tough place to get people to come. But Prague is not hard to sell at all, and Helsinki is not hard to sell at all. But site selection, right? I think that we kind of need to put a moratorium on conferences held in hotel ballrooms, because it just really impacts the quality of the event. And Luke, I apologize if yours is in a hotel ballroom. I don't know. I don't think it is. No, but good. Martin, yours is just a fantastic venue, but it's kind of outside of town, right? And if it was in downtown Prague, what difference would that make? Luke, sorry, don't know much about your event, haven't been to it yet, but tell our listeners about site selection and how difficult it is, and maybe some of the trade-offs that you had to consider before you decided where to hold it.
Yeah, sure. So the first year, we ended up getting it in a really cool place that used to be a repair yard for trams, and it's actually been turned into the tram museum, and you can see like eight historical models of tram in our main stage hall. So that was really cool, and they put on say concerts and stuff as well. So we were able to do a Rockamoto right at the main stage at that particular event, which was a lot of fun. If you don't know what the Satoshi Rockamoto event is, you should have that at your conference, and I'll let you research that further. The main thing was we had limited options in terms of the right size. So this venue that we had gave us the 1,000 was basically pushing the limits of this particular venue. It could have gone up to maybe approximately 1,200 people, but if it had rained, we would have been in real trouble. There was a big courtyard in our venue that people hung out in most of the time, and it actually did rain in one of the evenings. And of course, everyone is like trying to pile into the slightly limited space inside and all this, and we were blessed with mostly good weather, but if it had rained, we would have been in some trouble to get people in the space comfortably and all this. But we were just limited by the number of venue choices in one city. And I think that's the case anywhere. You kind of have a lot of these, say, hotel ballroom size things. Yeah, those are of course options. Then there were maybe a few other options that were, say, the 1,000 people capacity. There were a few of those. But getting beyond that, we were basically looking at arenas or like the gigantic conference center, and those just wouldn't have worked for us. But we lucked out this year. We're keeping with the kind of industrial theme. We're now moving to an old cable factory instead of an old tram repair yard. But this one has about double the capacity total and is a little more free form. It's still got this industrial vibe, and it's actually right on the water, right on the sea. So that's a lot of fun. You literally just go out the door and take a right, and you're at the water. There's this long canal that opens out into the Baltic Sea. It's a really nice vibe. Rooftop sauna as well, just because that has to be there. So it was really just optimizing for the venues that exist in the city, and this one that we got this year has a multi-year wait. We had to basically secure the dates that we had already like 4 months before our first conference. So that was our experience.
Martin?
Yeah, I believe that Luke summed up it well. Actually, it all comes. It all goes after the number of visitors. Actually, for us it was the same. We knew that we want to have more than 5,000, which actually put us in the decision if it's one first or the second venue. The second venue, we realized that fucks for some different reasons. So it actually pointed us to PVA Letňany, the place where BTC Prague already happened 3 times and it's going to happen for the 4th time. And yeah, like as it is our own one option, I won't complain, but yes, it sucks. It's more like an Amazon distribution center than the venue I can imagine conference on this scale being organized. And yeah, like for example, BTC HEL, like that industrial venue, it was wonderful. Or Bitcoin conference in Derby in UK, it was small one, but like that industrial revolution, industrial thing, or that reminder of industrial revolution. For some reasons, it fit Bitcoin ethos so well. Like we organized our conference, it was called Chain Camp before BTC Prague here in Czech Republic in Ostrava before. And in 2022, we went for the old gas station. It looked a little bit similar like in the venue they used in Amsterdam, but bigger and more industrial, more steampunkish actually. And yeah, that goes so well with Bitcoin. But like this year we are going with the same venue, but we have a super cool venue ready for 2027. If all goes well, it's just being reconstructed these days. And it's building which was built back in 1890 for the Prague World Expo, built in Art Nouveau style, lot of iron cars, lot of glasses, lot of stuff. And as it is being reconstructed, it will come with new AV, new AC, new parking, basically new everything, but still in that old classical style. And it's just 10 minutes of walking from the city center. So it will make everything easier because to get onto the question, I understand your point, Ed. Like, yes, the venue is as it is. It served the purpose well. But when the conference ends and people are into just having good dinner or just going to some party or just going to have a cigar or whiskey or just go to walk the park because parks in Prague in the summer are really nice or just walk the river, it takes like 30 minutes or 40 minutes in subway or another 40 minutes in a cab, which sucks. So we can do better and we will do better in 2027. But again, like it all goes after the number of the audience and the visitors. And if you are talking about like higher thousands, there aren't many options when it comes to Prague. So basically that's it. And yeah, and at the end of the day, it's all about the weather. Because like at BTC Prague, we count with that outside part of it where the chill zones, food trucks, basically fun part of the conference are located. Yeah, it fits like few thousands of people, but if it rains, yes, everybody can fit inside, but it won't be that enjoyable. So keep fingers crossed because weather is always the question until the very last moment.
Yeah, Tim and I just had made the decision to bring our unconference back to a place in New York called Lavon. We looked at so many different locations in New York City, and there's some fantastic locations, but Lavon has these huge digital walls. It just gave us the vibe that we wanted. It is, fire marshal capped at like about 450, and we really thought we were going to grow it, but we said, you know what, it's more important that the venue is right. And, for our listeners, you don't always have to grow it. You could just increase the ticket prices, right? And make it a more exclusive event, create some more FOMO, sell your tickets faster. So while I'm sure we could find a venue and put 2,000 in it, it's going to be 450. The ticket price will be higher. It'll be more exclusive, and we get to present it in the way we want. Well, we're running out of time here. I'll end with the last question, which I always like to do, to encourage our. I think we're up to 17 listeners now, which is a huge milestone. Why do you do it? Why do you put yourself through this? It's not a way to become rich, but why do you go through the pain and the agony of putting on a Bitcoin conference? Start with you, Luke.
I just love my newfound home of Finland, and I found Bitcoin as a part of moving over here, and I just want to share it with people here, help more people get on the lifeboat and keep the place that I call my home now, keep it a good place as we enter this era of chaos and craziness that only Bitcoin can save against. So that's my why. Martin.
Amen, Luke. Amen. Yeah. For me, it's more like the same. And it's a lifelong mission for me. It took me some while to realize what my mission actually is. But and it's funny that I first time learned what money is and what it means and what inflation is and how it affects our savings. It all happened after I became a Bitcoiner. And then it all clicked, and it's actually still clicking. Like every second day I have like that wow realization moment that I understand something which I was missing in my life. And I understand that the whole fiat world is broken. It's a spiral of death. There is no good ending. And I want people I like, myself, my family, my friends, whole Czech Republic, actually, whole Europe, to become winners of this fiat experiment collapse. Because it will collapse either way. As all our human experiments collapse, all societies collapse, it's actually inevitable. And that collapse doesn't need to be tragical, it's just something needs to end so something else can grow again in the better way of meaning. And fiat will die. There's no other ending for it. And I want to spread the Bitcoin energy because those people having Bitcoin will grow from that collapse or ending more powerful than any time Bitcoin. And as Bitcoiners are people with good intentions, good life values, good missions, understanding that we should be curious, questioning things, not being slaves or sheeps. I want those people to be new ruling class, setting the life standards for the humanity and for our kids and grandkids. So there's the reason why I spend my life on Bitcoin. And as I'm not a developer or technically skilled enough, I know how to do parties and events. So I decided that my life gonna be held around Bitcoin conferences, which gonna help the society sooner or later.
Fantastic. Martin, BTC Prague, what are the dates? What's the website?
Yeah, thank you, Ed. So dates, it's 11, 12, and 13th of June in Prague. And the website is easy, btcprague.com.
Excellent. Luke?
Thank you.
Dates, website?
September 25th, 26th, 2026 in Helsinki, and btchel.com.
Wonderful. Well, thank you guys for joining us here. For those of you that do run Bitcoin conferences or are thinking about it, feel free to reach out to any of us. Listen to the previous episodes where we try to share more. If you do go to a Bitcoin conference and you're not one of the organizers or doing it yourself, make sure you go up to the organizers and thank them. Like I said, nobody's getting rich doing this. There are plenty of people that run conferences and events that's what they do for a living and they do get rich, but that's not us. So please go up to the organizers, thank them for doing this because this is what we do to help move the Bitcoin movement forward. Thanks again, gentlemen. That's the end of episode 4. We will see you next month. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Good luck with your project.
Thanks for having me, Ed. Take care. Bye.